Here is Charlie Kirk, essentially, and this, goes to show you, like, the power of Tucker Carlson. This is what Rush Limbaugh played this role back in the day. He'd go on and say something on his radio show, and then within a day or two, all of the right-wing talkers are tacking towards that direction because Limbaugh has provided oxygen there that they can go in and given them some room to move into that space. And B, that's where the dollars are. Here's Charlie Kirk, trying to sort of get back some of that old shine. It's tough when you get old and you're still hanging out at colleges. It's sort of like, I don't know if you saw, it's like the School Days. What character that guy? I can't remember his name now, but the guy, the 30-year-old hanging out at the high schools.
You're talking about Happy Days?
No, not School Days.
You're talking about
Dazed and Confused. Yeah.
Think about Van Wilder.
Yeah, like the idea of hanging out. I mean, Charlie Kirk is moving into that territory now. Like, why, dude? Maybe it's not time for you to be in college anymore. But here he is. This is the next chapter for him. That is, to justify the replacement theory.
What's happening with Tucker and what he's talking about, because he is receiving an unprecedented amount of backlash trying to cancel his show. One of the most successful, if not the most successful, cable television nightly news shows in history. So Tucker had a 1-minute, 47-second conversation with Mark Stein. Nothing about it was controversial at all. And Tucker, he made me so proud.
Oh, that's nice.
I was proud to cheer him on last evening because Tucker doubled and tripled down last evening.
Bro, he doesn't think of you.
So what Tucker was really talking about is how demographics play a role in shaping the American electorate. Now, generally, I do not like the overemphasis on people's voting block. But now that we have customizable political choices that are based on your race, creed, sex, and gender, whether we like it or not, groups are going to vote more and more in a certain direction. That's the downside of identity politics, which we abhor.
All right, there's a couple of things here. First off is he's not addressing the first night of what Tucker Carlson said. He's going to where Tucker Carlson backed off it a little bit and made it about just an electoral argument rather than just this idea of like you're being replaced. Secondly, I've got some very bad news for Charlie Kirk and his whole theory about identity politics and people. He might want to look at the color of every president that existed prior to 2008. He might want to look at the gender, the vast majority of American politicians, and see, like the identity politics that have been played. This is the same analogy to cancel culture. Identity politics have always existed. It's just that now there are identities that are gaining power and they're starting to reflect. That's going to be reflected in our politics. Identity politics have been ongoing. In fact, there's one party that represents the concept of identity politics more than any party, perhaps in the history of this country. And that is the Republican Party today, because they vote for white people overwhelmingly and overwhelmingly white men. And they're made up of overwhelmingly white people.
I just think that, it's getting a little sad, Sam, well, both because of everything you said, but also because he's starting to like Michael Cera when they brought him back to play like George Michael in like the later seasons of Arrested Development. And they were like, oh no, he's still in college, but it's like 30-year-old Michael Cera. But I mean, you're right. And also, it's not only just identity politics that the Republican Party, weaponizes. It's just grievance politics. It's like the complex victimology that comes with like an imagined assault on your place in society. That's like, that's the ties that bind them together. And, also like trying to get rich. But that's also, the way the Democrats are trying to make inroads into the Republican Party, leaving more and more only the people who are motivated by pure petty grievances as being in control. So, I think it's just interesting that the projection that comes from the far right on that realm, like, the left is about grievance, the left is about victimhood, the left is about identity, while the right is about some sort of logic and fact-based politics rooted in like traditional Western values.